second shot. Good morning. Good morning, Rotarians and guests. I'm Joe Ovella, President of the Hudson Rotary. Our invocation today is by Phil Tobin.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Where's our Sergeant at Arms today?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, okay.
He's ready to be fine.
An invocation. Heavenly Father, we thank you for being with us today on this beautiful spring morning as we meet in good fellowship to renew our Rotary commitment to help others. Remind us to use our special talents you've given us and our special differences, and help us to bring these talents together for the good of Rotary and our community. Bless us as we meet together. Thank you for our common bond, the four-way test. Bless this food to our liking and us to your service. In your name we ask it. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Okay, and to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test at the last minute, Larry Santon. Yeah.
Join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The four-way test, the things we think, say, and do. First,
is it the truth?
Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
will it build goodwill and better justice?
All right. I got a little, let's see if we can do better in the song. Thank you, Larry. Dick Pearsall. Keep them all together, Dick, here.
It's so that we sing whatever James Fields puts up on the screen. After last week, I checked with him today, and he's agreed that we should sing "You're a Grand Old Flag." Now, let's see if it comes up.
you don't have to do it from memory.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they'll do it from memory. If it's a memory, we better
He's not
sing.
getting it up.
Okay, let's just sing America the Beautiful. I think you know that one.
Wait a minute.
Oh, beautiful for spacious sky, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains majesty, above the fruited plain. Give it a kick. America, America, God shed His grace on thee so reverently, and found thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. We did it, Jim, without.
Okay, good morning, Rotarians. It's nice to have a nice spring day. Rich Warfield, coming up. So we want to get started here, and Rich Warfield is going to talk about our little project at Camp Manitowoc. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, secretary.
Secretary. Oh, yes, it does say Chris Barker here. Yes. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Rich.
Yeah, I know the secretary's a rough job, but someone's got to do it. Well, we have a few guests with us today. Joining us for the second time, if you please stand up, Pete Opperman, a guest of Rich Warfield. Thanks for joining us again. And then we have a few first-time visitors, so I would ask if Mike Swang and Peter Goheen could please both bring their visitors up and just let us know a little bit about them. Thank you.
Okay. A little bit about them. Do it at the microphone. Speak at the microphone.
I want to introduce Doug McDowell. Doug's a good guy. He's retired. He's also a member of the Congregational Church with me. He's on the Stewardship Committee. So those of you in the church, please open your pocketbooks.
Yeah, folks, I want to introduce Dan Filburn. Dan is a longtime neighbor of mine in Hudson Park Estates, golfing buddy, and he attended the gala a few weeks ago, and he liked what he saw, and he said, boy, this looks like a fun group. How do I get to come to one of these meetings? And I just said, sign right here. So here we are. Dan Filmer.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you got to know the right people to get to one of these meetings. Okay, now, Rich Warfield. Yes.
Mike, is Dan retired too?
Dan is retired.
Dan is retired too. Oh.
ExxonMobil.
Does he beat you on the golf course?
Consistent.
Consistently?
Yeah.
Good. We all have to have a goal to go after, so your goal is to beat Dan. And good guy over here. He's got to be a good guy to hang around Pete. So, June 4th, we are going to have either our 4th or 5th, I can't remember the numbers, pool opening at the campground. And right now, Jay has volunteered this morning. As soon as I walked in, he tackled me. He said, I'm all excited. I want to help out. By the way, my Penguins won last night, so that's a big part of his excitement. Unfortunately, there's a Game 7, Jay, so, but I'm sure they'll win, just like the Cavs will win in 6, right? So anyway, we are looking for volunteers. I know Coach has always been there religiously, and he's already got his hand up, even though it's like creeping up. And anybody else wants to help out, Lynn wants to help out, we're up to 4, 5, and the numbers are growing. And so anyway, 4, 5, 6, that's fine. They have breakfast for us when we get there, a light breakfast, which Joe knows. And then we clean the pool house, which there's a plaque on the wall that says this pool is maintained by Hudson Rotary Club. And it has been part of our previous grants, or one of our previous grants. But every year we give a grant to this organization. And I believe Chris is coming on next Wednesday morning to accept his big check. He goes, how do I get that through the automatic teller machine? I go, well, you're going to have to shrink it down a little bit, but he will be here to accept that check. So anybody else that wants to volunteer, feel free to email me, call me, however you want to reach me. And I think we're going to meet there about 8:30 on June 4th, that Saturday. Thanks.
It's a worthwhile project. It's a lot of fun. We usually have about 8 or 9 people, and it's a good project. So this being late May, Memorial Day is coming up, and we always participate in the Memorial Day Parade. I'd like to ask Catherine to tell us what we're going to do this year.
Good morning, Rotarians. There was 2 things I wanted to share with you. First, I wanted to thank everybody for all the support last week with the scholarship winners here. And I didn't get a chance to show you because we were kind of a time constraint, but from the Rotary, we gave each one of them a little portfolio bag, and I put candy in it, and we put a tablet and an ink pen and gave it to each one of them. And then we also gave them from the Rotary a candy bar with thank you and all kinds of languages for them to give to their teacher as a thank you. So while they were here, I was telling them about the Memorial Day Parade because they all will be in the parade with us. And I told them that last year I had to bring my little granddaughters who love the parade, and that they thought all the scholarship winners were princesses. So I asked them if I bought them all a tiara, would they wear it? So Monday, if you get a chance to come watch the parade or to march with us, that every one of our scholarship winners will be wearing a tiara, and my granddaughters will be there with little tiaras on too. So if you can make it, it's 10 o'clock on Monday. So, yeah, yes, they will be inside Ron Strobel's truck, his antique truck, with their tiaras. And one girl even, I asked her, I said, would you wear a tiara if I brought it? And she said, can we dress up like princesses? So we'll see.
We want to know, is every winner going to wear a tiara?
No, I didn't get one for Simon, but he's Prince Charming. Right, Liz? He pulled your chair out. He was gallant. He's Prince Charming, so.
Okay, 10 a.m. on Monday, Memorial Day Parade.
The parade starts at 10, and it's behind Brugler's Bagel, and it starts at 10.
To form up.
Between 9:30 and 10.
Yeah, because they're going to close the road at a certain point.
Okay, it's been a few weeks since we've had our 3-minute Rotarian due to time constraints, but we have one today. It is Mr. Peter Goheen.
Well, good morning, Rotarians. Good morning again. I thought about You know, I've been threatened for several weeks now to come up here for the 3-minute speech. Actually, it used to be 2 minutes. What I want to do real quick is to encourage everybody, all you grandparents, to talk to your grandchildren about what it was like for you when you were a kid, and all you parents to encourage your children to talk to your parents, their grandparents, about what it was like to talk, to be, you know, what it was like when they were kids too. Just as a matter of curiosity, is there anybody in the room whose house was heated with a coal-filled potbelly stove? Ah. Anybody here remember party lines? Yes. All right. In my lifetime, on Veterans Day, there were veterans who fought in the Civil War. Do any of you all remember that? Yeah, Civil War. Civil War. The American Civil War. Some people know it as the War of Northern Aggression.
Hey, Peter, I fought in the Civil War.
Yeah, okay. All right, Phil. Well, I was born in Canada in 1940. My house was heated with a coal-fired potbelly stove. My bread and the milk that came to my house was delivered by a horse and wagon. You remember that, Joe? Oh, by golly. Rationing was in existence when I was born. Did any of you all have to go through that? So there's some World War II people here. I came to the United States when I was 8 years old. I figured that I was going to another province. I'd never heard of the United States. I remember one guy in a butcher market said, "Going to the States, eh?" And I said, "Yeah." I went to Delaware, Ohio. My father worked for the Woolworth Company, and we moved once every 4 years. I lived in Delaware, Ohio for 4, Huntington, West Virginia for 4. I graduated from Martins Ferry High School in the Ohio Valley down by Wheeling. I went into the Army, and I served 32 of my 36 months in Germany. First time I saw an ocean, I crossed it on a troop ship from Brooklyn. Second time I saw an ocean, I crossed it on a troop ship from Bremerhaven. I graduated from Ohio Wesleyan University, and my first job was here in Hudson, Ohio. I worked for the Mid-Continent Telephone Corporation, which was a Fortune 500 located here in Hudson, Ohio. Ultimately, Weldon Case and his family sold the telephone company to Alltel, who came up here from Little Rock for a little while, but then took everything back, and we lost some taxpayers, I think, right then. Roger Peters and John Logan and I were the first 3 trainees for Mid-Continent. I later went to New York for 12 years. My big break in business really was with International Telephone and Telegraph back in the days when conglomerates were a big thing. I ended up consulting in what's now known as supply chain management for ITT divisions in the United States. I lived in Hudson 3 different times. One of the times was working for Mid-Continent, another time was working for Picker, and the last time was working for Furon. When I retired, I gave some thought to what I really wanted to do, and I ended up figuring out that I wanted to use my life experience and my education to help other people. My first, I am doing that now, and I was doing that then by volunteering. My first volunteer position was as a guardian ad litem in the juvenile court system here in Summit County. And any of you all who are wanting to volunteer and help children who really need help, I'm really recommending contact the juvenile court and find out about the guardian ad litem program. Basically, you are, as a guardian ad litem, representing the children who are caught up in the juvenile court system because of actions of their parents, not because they did anything wrong. I enjoyed that. I did that for a couple of years, and I got to the point where I was disagreeing with a social worker from Children's Services. So I went back to school, something I threatened never to do in my life. I barely graduated from Ohio Wesleyan, so going for a master's degree at University of Akron was a challenge. I got a 4-point, basically. Graduated when I was 67 years old with a master's in social work. I currently hold licenses as an independent social worker supervisor, an LISWS, and a drug and alcohol counselor. I think the thing that most pleases me that I'm involved with today, there are two. One of them is job search. I was an original mentor. Each time I lived in Hudson, I participated in job search, and I commend that to any of you who are looking for a volunteer position. You probably should have been fired or once or twice, but just to get the experience of what it's like to be out of work and being head of a family. And the other thing that I'm really proud of is being a member of the board of the Alcohol, Drug, and Mental Health Board. I'm on that board. Takes your tax dollars and uses them to provide support for people who have mental health issues or who are involved with drugs and alcohol. On each of your tables, I put what's known as a street card. Now, I'm not thinking any of you are ever going to need this information, but on this street card, which is published by the Akron City Schools, is information on how to find child care resources, clothing, dental resources, drug and alcohol services. It's support services for people who can't afford to do it themselves. Now, maybe through your church or maybe through your contacts at work, you encounter people who need that kind of support. These street cards are available. You can find them probably in our public library, I think on the second floor. But I just wanted you to be aware of the fact that there is a vast array of services that are available to people who need our support and our help. So that's why they're there on your table. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Peter. It's an example of another interesting a Rotarian. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll have another 3-minute Rotarian for next week, and I will draw the name randomly out of, and pick the ones that I know won't be here. Rich Warfield. Are you going to be here next week?
I believe so.
You'll be our 3-minute Rotarian?
8 minutes?
No hats. Don't bring any hat. No hats. Yeah, and no sweatshirts. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Rich Warfield for next week. Let's start our program. George, please.
Good morning, Rotarians. When I first moved to Akron in the very late 1970s, we visited what was then the Akron Children's Zoo. It was a rather scruffy little place that had a couple of animal exhibits. It had a petting zoo and not a whole lot more. And over the years, that tiny operation has been transformed into a major metropolitan zoo. And to conclude our series this month on Parks and Recreation, we invited the Akron Zoo to come and talk to us. We had originally asked Doug Piakush, who is the director of the zoo, to be here. He is on a national board and was called to a meeting in Atlanta about a week ago. So we, in his place, we have his lieutenant, Pamela Holtz. And Pam is the vice president and chief development officer of the Akron Zoo. She has been working in nonprofit management and fundraising for almost 10 years. Pam joined the Akron Zoo in August 2015 and previously worked for the Akron Children's Hospital Foundation, where she developed the annual Giving and Corporate Alliance programs. Prior to Akron Children's Hospital, she served as the marketing director for Petiti Garden Centers. Pam is a graduate of Kent State with a Bachelor of Science degree in advertising and lives in Stowe with her husband and 2 children. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me now in giving a warm Rotary welcome to Pam Holtz.
Well, Thank you, everyone, for having me here today. As George shared, my name is Pam Holtz, and I am with the Akron Zoo. How many people have been to the Akron Zoo? Okay, this is great. How many of you have been to the Akron Zoo in the last, let's say, 10 years? Oh, even better yet. Well, great. Well, I hope I don't tell you what you already know, because it seems like you guys are familiar with us. But let me start with some history of the zoo. As George shared, we were at one time a zoo with 2 bears in a cage. The land was donated to us in 1900 by George and Ann Perkins, and they donated the land to the city of Akron with the sole purpose of creating a park for children. 2 brown bears were shortly after that, 2 brown bears were donated to us, and at the time we had them in a cage which was considered at the time appropriate housing for the bears. As you know today, that is not appropriate housing. We created a small museum of natural history on the ground, and that's just kind of a replica of it up there now. That included 12 nursery rhyme theme parks. There was a little duck pond. We had the bears up on the hill, and the John Brown Monument. In 1979, the zoo became a nonprofit organization. And just so you kind of understand, the zoo is on city property. There is a portion of the zoo that we do own the land, and there is a portion of the zoo that we rent the land, and the rest we reside on the city of Akron property. Exhibits were added, and everything kind of improved. And in 1989, we became accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Is anyone familiar with the Association of Zoos and Aquariums? And you're not allowed to answer. That is a national organization that oversees zoos and aquariums across the United States. What's significant about that is there are only a little over 200 accredited zoos and aquariums. And I want you to know that because sometimes, zoos get a bad rap because you'll go somewhere and an animal might not be in appropriate housing, or there might be something that bothers you. Most likely they're not accredited. And just like hospitals go through accreditations and universities go through things, we do as well. So that was a really big achievement for the Akron Zoo to be accredited. Last year we were re-accredited. And I can tell you that we were told that we received the 2nd highest rating that the AZA has ever seen in a zoo and aquarium for their accreditation. So we're quite proud of that. In 2000, that was the first year that the zoo was able to receive a tax levy funding from the residents of Summit County. Since 2000, we were able to do a lot of things to improve our zoo. We've grown from 33 to 56 exhibits. We've been able to open year-round. We've had several capital projects, and there's just a few up there, and most recently is the Mike and Mary Stark Grizzly Ridge exhibit. That exhibit just won a Zenith Award from the county of Summit County and the city of Akron for the best photo opportunity in Summit County. And the reason being, and those of you that have been there, is you could get up close and personal with the bears right behind you in the photographs. To tell you a little bit more just about that tax levy, because I know you're all supporters of our zoo, we receive about $8 million a year from that levy. That $8 million covers 60% of our operating costs. Since 2000, that tax levy amount has not increased. But as you've seen, our zoo has increased. So we're kind of at a crossroads right now at the zoo where we're looking to balance the tax levy against the revenue that we receive, which is the creation of the office that I'm running, our development office, as well as an extensive marketing campaign that we're going to be embarking on to increase our gate to 500,000 people a year. Okay, just to give you some background on us. We are the #1 attraction in Summit County. That means we've had more people visit our zoo annually than any other attraction in the county. Last year we had 363,000 people come through our door. We have had 36,000 participate in education programs. If you have a grandchild or a child, most likely they have come on a field trip to the zoo recently. Right now, we are at our peak every day at 10 o'clock. We have lines out the door of school children, and at 1:30, our gift shop is full of children buying their Momentums to get back on the bus. We have 11,000 members, different community partnerships, and we participate in 45 species survival plans, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the presentation. And we are one of only 233 accredited zoos in the country. Sorry about that. Okay. Did I click too many? Okay. You know, I said I wanted to talk about our species survival plans that we participate in. What you may not be aware of is when you go to a zoo, the majority of the animals that you're seeing at that zoo are endangered. Zoos exist to educate and to conserve and conservation. At the Akron Zoo, we have 45 animals that are endangered of extinction. We have 2 that do not even exist in the wild anymore. One of them is the Partula snail, and to be honest with you, it's smaller than my pinky nail. We have 500 in our zoo right now. They all fit in one nice little fish tank, and we will actually be releasing some in Haiti back into the wild. So we're pretty proud of that we're actually going to repopulate, or we're hopefully going to repopulate that species. We have 16 field conservation programs that we participate in, and that's actual conservation work being done out where the animals exist in the wild. We fund those through our conservation fund, so if somebody makes a donation on a membership renewal for conservation, it would go into our conservation fund, and we actually then in turn give it to an organization saving animals in the wild. We also breed. Here's some photographs of some of the children we've had at the zoo. This one here is the first Chilean flamingo that was hatched last year at the Akron Zoo. The very first, because we have not had a successful birth until last year. We had a gentleman that joined us from SeaWorld who kind of nurtured the egg in the incubator as it went on, and that's her, and I apologize because I actually have a better picture on my phone if you'd like to see it. She went on exhibit yesterday, but don't tell anybody because we haven't released that publicly. But if you go to the zoo today, you will see a slightly pink, gray variegated flamingo, about a little smaller than the other flamingos in the exhibit, and that's her. Her name is Josephina, named after the gentleman who raised her, whose name is Joe. One of the interesting things about Josephina is if you go to the zoo, you'll see that we have a staff member actually at the exhibit. She is very, very comfortable with humans, and one of our concerns is as she's trying to get along with the other flamingos, and even though they've been together, it's still kind of an outsider coming into their group. We were afraid that she would kind of migrate to our guests. So we actually have a staff member on hand right there to make sure the guests don't touch her, because she will come right up to you. So it's pretty cool. These, who knows who those are? Those are our snow leopard cubs. We were very, very excited because Shanti, our female snow leopard, gave birth on March 5th to 3 snow leopard cubs. First time Shanti gave birth to 3. In the past, she's had 2 other litters of only 2 cubs at our zoo. You cannot see these guys yet, and actually there's 2 boys and a girl, but they will be going on exhibit June 3rd. So I will tell you, they are cute as ever. Right now, we are having them go into the exhibit while we're not open, so they get used to the rocks and they kind of get acclimated a little bit. I'll tell you, it's really funny because we have 3 keepers that go in with them because we don't want them to get hurt. They climb up the rocks, but they're not quite sure what they are yet, so they get a little high and then they decide to jump, and we have keepers underneath them catching them to make sure they don't hurt themselves. They are adorable. So if you come to the zoo after June 3rd, they will actually be on exhibit. If you are coming, I have cards with me, and there's also flyers. Give me a call because I could tell you what time they'll be on exhibit. The way it works is they'll have them out for only an hour a day and gradually increase it to longer periods of the day. So just so you don't come in the afternoon and they're already in, I can tell you the inside scoop on it. And we don't have names yet. They will be picking their own names on June 2nd. We had a naming contest and had 6,000 entries, so it's been narrowed down to 6 names, and we'll let them pick it when they go into the exhibit on June 2nd. So watch your newspapers, because I'm sure they'll cover it. Okay, modeling the way. I mentioned zoos exist for conservation, education. One of the things that we focus on is educating the public about sustainability. And I like to say we model the way because we do put conservation at the forefront of everything we do at the zoo. You may walk around the zoo and you'll see different indicators of conservation. Our Komodo Kingdom is the first LEED certified building in Summit County. Same with the Komodo Cafe. A statistic we're really proud of is that over the last 5 years, we've reduced our water usage by 80%. We've composted 2 million pounds of waste every year, and our latest exhibit is a certified LEED silver exhibit. I mentioned education and how many students come through our doors annually. We do focus on STEM and conservation education. Another area that we are introducing into our programs is biomimicry. That's okay. We do reach students in many different ways. Not only do they come to the zoo on field trips, we also have a mobile education van that goes out to the schools and does presentations for them. We have zoo camps, which are a lot of the programs we have annually, and then we also do a lot of public displays. Yeah, I like to say we're a good neighbor. Because we do receive money from our residents in Summit County, we do try to give back as much as possible. As a nonprofit, it can be difficult, but there's a lot of partnerships that we are involved in. One is with Akron Children's Hospital, and they're what we do with them is once a year we do a night that is open only to chronically and terminally ill children. As you can imagine, if you have a child that has it's any patient, but if you have a child that maybe is on the autism spectrum, coming to a zoo can be very overwhelming. But that evening we have specialists on hand and we have different things in place so that they're able to come and enjoy the zoo. Our CEO, Doug Piakar, shares a story that last year he was at Dream Night and one of the patients came up to him and said, "I just want to thank you for doing this." And he was like, "Oh, did you have fun?" And the child goes, "Yeah, but it's more for my brother." And he looked at him and said, "Well, why do you say that?" And he said, "Because my brother doesn't get to go to a lot of things because I can't. And you're letting him come here today." So it's very special. It's coming up in a few weeks. But it's just one of the things, and you've heard my background. I come from the hospital to the zoo, so it's kind of where my worlds all collide, and it truly is a special event. Another partnership we have that's really cool is we partner with Hattie Laurel. Around the zoo, there is different property that we have purchased and took houses that were condemned down. There is actually lots along Edgewood in front of the zoo where we let Hattie Laurel farm it. They actually plant produce there. They are opening in a few weeks a food hub where they're going to sell the produce to the community. It is a desert there for the community without access to fresh organic food. So they're filling that gap, and we actually donate that land to them to use. We have some other things with them as well within our place, educating people on their initiatives, and we actually purchase their food as well and serve it in our cafe. So some days you'll come in and there'll be some odd offerings like baked potatoes, and it's because we have potatoes from Hattie's that week. And then we also do stuff with the Akron Public Schools. Every year in August, we have a backpack adventure. It's a 2-day event where students from the Akron Public Schools come into the zoo, and we actually provide them with a free backpack, and they go around the zoo to stations and get all their school supplies for the year. So just a few things that we try to do to give back. And then we also have the community days where all the communities in Summit County have different opportunities to come to the zoo for free. What's next? Well, you know, my CEO likes to say we're just going to continue doing what we do best. And there's a list of things that we consider we're doing best, but I'll kind of let you in on what's going on at the zoo. You know, our board created a strategic plan in 2014. It's a 7-year strategic plan. I already mentioned that we're trying to become less dependable on the tax levy with that plan, the creation of the development department and the marketing department. One of our goals is to reach attendance of 500,000 by 2021. To get there, we have several strategic initiatives that are going in place. One of them is come November, and we haven't officially announced it, but it's coming up here soon in a few weeks as well. We are going to start having holiday lights at the Akron Zoo again. So look for that information to hit. It's going to be very cool. We've been working real hard to design it, and it will run from Thanksgiving weekend until New Year's Eve. So that's one of the things that we have coming. The other is we are embarking on a capital campaign to redo our Tiger Valley area. So you might have read about it. It actually kind of got in a newspaper a few months ago where our CEO was at a county meeting and started talking about it. So a lot of our plans have kind of been leaked a little bit, but we will be redoing our tiger and our lion exhibits, as well as bringing monkeys back to the zoo. So we will have a primate house with interior and exterior housing for 2 different species of monkeys. We're going to be taking our red panda exhibit and expanding that. And right now we are looking at putting in another, we call it a revenue generator, but right now that is going to be a Ferris wheel. We have to get through our final designs to for sure finalize that, but that is the plan. So you might have read about that in the Akron Beacon Journal. What I'm most excited about our plans moving forward is those snow leopards that I showed you. That's one of the few larger species that we're able to breed right now because our exhibits are too small. So we are not able to breed our tigers or lions because the holdings are too small for those animals, and AZA actually asks that you hold cubs for 2 years for those 2 species. And because of that, we can't hold 4 lions in our exhibit. So our new exhibit will actually allow us to breed those animals. So we're pretty excited that we're going to be able to give back to the population. And just so you know, the snow leopards will probably only be with us 8 months because they will go on to other zoos to start families on their own. So if you want to see them, you got to get out there in 8 months. I think that's it. Yeah, does anybody have any questions? Sure.
You said you had 2 endangered species. You mentioned 1. What's the other one?
Oh, you know, I kind of thought you were going to ask me that, and I have to apologize because I do not recall the exact species, but it is an insect. And I can look that up, and I can send George a note on that so you guys can learn about that next time. I do apologize. The partula snails are kind of top of mind for me right now because we are sending them back to Haiti. You know, that's a good question, and I apologize. I do not know the specific answer to that. I can tell you that there's thousands of endangered species across the world right now at varying levels of being endangered. I can give you some examples, like the snow leopards that I just showed. There's only 4,000 of them that live in the wild right now. And then across the zoos, we have hundreds of them across the zoos right now. The lions, to give you an idea of how the lion population is, and seriously, who would really think that lions are endangered? They're such a animal that we all know. There's only 30,000 lions left in the world. In the 1800s, there were 1 million. So they are decreasing rapidly in the wild, and quite honestly, it's because of humans. The humans are killing them because they're getting in the way. They're attacking their cattle and things of that nature. Sorry, but I can get that information out to you too if you want to drop by. Yes. Oops, we have to.
I was going to ask a question. No. You want to wait your turn, Liz? All right. Just have a little fun with it. I was at the Kansas City Zoo a couple weeks ago. I was very impressed with that zoo. How does Akron not rank, but how does it compare to some other zoos across the country? And in addition to that, I was watching this polar bear for some reason. I was just interested in this polar bear. All it did was walk back and forth for like 2 hours. No, I had to kill. I had to kill some time gale, so I left and came back, and it was doing the same thing, walking back and forth. It was like in a trance, you know. So anyway, that's my question.
Sure, I can answer that for you. The Akron Zoo compared to other zoos is, we're small. We're a small zoo. Every zoo finds kind of their own niche in the market. And Larry and I were talking about Cleveland and the difference between the Cleveland Zoo and us. The Cleveland Zoo is very large. They're well funded, and because of their space and their funding, they could have much larger animals, like elephants. The Kansas City Zoo could have polar bears. We are smaller. We are well respected. As I shared, we received the second highest AZA accreditation ranking that they've ever seen at our inspection. Part of that is because of our CEO. Our CEO is, his background is really planning and animal care. Kind of not your traditional CEO model. He came from animal care at the Bronx Zoo and was the animal curator out there. When he joined the Akron Zoo, he was in animal care and then became a director of planning and development. So he actually designed everything in our zoo right now. His very first project was our Tiger Valley exhibit, which is our oldest exhibit, and we're going to redo it. So his hand touched everything in the zoo. Because of that, he teaches college-level courses for AZA right now on planning and development. We're very respected. In comparison, and it's interesting you talk about the polar bears, because one of the comments I hear all the time at the zoo is our lions, because our lions just kind of hang out. They just sit up. If you go there, they sit up on their little perch and hang out, or you'll see them pacing in front of the window. That's what they do. Lions sleep 21 hours a day. So if you see them sleeping, it's not because they're bored. It's because that's what they do. When they sit up on that perch, that's a natural instinct for them to sit high and look down at their prey. So when they're up there looking down at you, that's what they do in the wild. When we design our new exhibit, it's actually going to be designed on a hill, so it's more natural for them to look down on us. Polar bears, I'm not familiar with polar bear behavior habits. Interesting fact about polar bears, that's kind of a sad fact, but it is reality. The habitat of polar bears in the wild is dwindling very fast. You've heard of global warming. It's very sad. Some experts will tell you they think polar bears are going to go extinct because they don't have land anymore. A lot of zoos, because of that, are quickly trying to get polar bear exhibits. And AZA zoos we give each other animals. We don't buy animals. We don't take animals from the wild. We breed animals, and we give them to each other. And polar bears are such a demand right now for people to try to get them in exhibits that there was actually a zoo that was a month from opening their exhibit and had no polar bears. So they worked it out. But it is kind of one of those things about polar bears. It's just interesting. We do have penguins. We have African penguins. They are very lively. I will tell you that they are extremely lively and they are very loud. I started my job and it took me a week to figure out what this noise was I heard in my office. My office is above the penguin display, and they make a noise like a donkey. Our penguins. And I just thought it was our donkeys up in farmland until one night I was outside and I walked by them and they were yelling at me. But they're fun. They're one of the most popular animals we have.
Okay. When you talk about the extinct bug or whatever it is, snail?
Our snail.
Yeah. Why Haiti? Just curious.
That's actually where they're from. Haiti. That's their area. And the reason they're extinct is that people from another country came into that area and brought another insect, and that insect overtook everything and basically ate the snails. That's kind of where it came from. So the idea is there's certain conditions there that's their ideal breeding area. So that's why they're going back to Haiti. It's this little coastal town in Haiti where they're going to try to repopulate it. And we're not the only zoo sending snails there. There's actually zoos across the whole country. We were just excited that we had enough that we can participate in that program.
A question, besides schools taking just a tour of the zoo, do you have any specific programs that tie in with educating with high schools, grade schools in terms of studying specific aspects of the animals?
Yeah, we do. We have, the broader school field trip programs and where we can go into the schools and do different things. We do offer for high school level shadowing programs where students can come in and shadow a keeper for a day. We call them career days, as well as bringing students in to shadow our veterinarians. Not a lot of people go into that type of career. So we do have to continually try to encourage students to do that. Those programs are available from age 14 and up, where we go into that side of it. And then we have some smaller camps that are more specific to different aspects of animal care and animals. Do we have another one back there?
Right in the back. Working?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I think one of the highest values of the Akron Zoo is the intimacy, and it's always been my preference to take grandkids there rather than the Cleveland Zoo, just for that very reason. So my hat is off to you.
Well, thank you very much. And when I said that zoos have to find their niche, that's ours. We say you've never been this close. All of our exhibits that we build now, we do make sure that we have the opportunity for children to go right up against the glass. I mentioned our tiger exhibit we're going to be redoing. That's being designed so that their pool is actually right in front of the glass because they love to go swimming. Like our bears, it is that intimacy. As we grow, we are concentrating on keeping that intimacy. One of the things you'll see as we grow and we change is we're going to expand walkways and things of that nature. I can tell you this week I went on an appointment, came back, our parking lot was full, and you walked in the zoo and you had no idea there was that many people there, because the way we have it laid out. We do have one area that doesn't feel that way when we're busy, and that's the one we're redoing, so we'll fix it. But thank you for that compliment, because that is one of the things we work very hard to do. And if you haven't brought grandchildren there yet, you can get through the zoo in 2 hours. And you could have birthday parties. You could also have corporate parties, but we're not going to go down there. Oh, and pancakes with penguins. Thank you. And actually, if you are interested, that sells out really quick, so you need to jump on it. You get to feed the penguins at it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sure. There you go.
Thank you, Pam. So this concludes our Parks and Recreation Month, the end of May. Next month, we begin fun summer things, summer fun. And we will hear from Gervasi Vineyard next week. So thank you to our greeters today for all month, Jay Yard and Liz Kwolick. Thanks to Tom Tobin for getting here early and pitching in on setting up, and James, of course. And Ron Barnhouse is out today. He's traveling, so we could use some help. Can you stay around, Larry? And in cleaning up and setting up and cleaning up. So our drawing for the Rotabuck today is $12, and our jackpot is $366. Pam drew the winning ticket. It is 1832. 1832. Stuart again, Stu again. Stu, I'll come over to you, buddy. Stu did not win. Okay. So thank you. Enjoy this great day.